Melissa wanted a little bit of champagne, but she liking that champagne. That's that good champagne, Melissa. And I just want to say that I was waiting to pop the champagne after I bought the house. And it is so appropriate to be popping the champagne with two realtors. I'm just saying, I feel honored. Thank you.
It's our pleasure.
Speak your mind.
The rest will follow.
Speak your mind.
The rest will follow.
Yo, yo, yo. We are here. We're back recording.
Did y'all miss us?
Yo, it's been a minute, B.
I know. It's been a long time.
We've been off the mic.
Off the mic. It's been a little dry, right?
Yes, it's been dry. We've been busy. We've been out there buying a house. Yes.
Big things.
We both bought a house
Cha-ching.
at the same time. And that was a stressful time.
We didn't buy a house together, though.
We didn't buy a house together.
But
she
it's
bought
separate.
a house with her boo.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
And
in Cortland.
In Cortland.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, Ithaca sometimes hurt my pockets. So.
Yes.
But that's all right. Some people can afford it, and they do it.
I know. You know, that's a good point, because I was looking in Ithaca. My kids are in school here, so I was trying to stay in Ithaca, and that was a challenge.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the available houses and what they look like.
Girl, Zillow.
No.
You look on Zillow. Go
Is
next
Zillow
day.
reliable
next
though?
Day. It's like that's my go. That's my go-to.
That's your go-to, Zillow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was stuck on realtor.com.
Realtor.com. Okay.
Yes.
I've been on there.
I would look at the listings, but then there's so much to buying a house. It's like the fun part is looking at the houses. You know,
5 bedrooms, 3
I
bathrooms.
want a dream.
Now.
I want a two-car garage.
Right.
You know, and I want to walk in and
with
it
a
just
pool.
looks good, right?
Not a pool.
Then I got a reality check. And it ain't all like that.
Hitting.
It ain't all like that. So, y'all.
So this episode today,
yes,
we're gonna tap into some local realtors here, and they just gonna give us the business and the information.
Yeah, we want y'all to school us. I mean, we've learned a lot, and we can shed some experiences,
yes,
some horror stories. We're gonna keep it clean though. I ain't saying all the nonsense, but so we have two great realtors here with us. We got Melissa Shames, Matthew Richardson. And
give it up for Matthew.
Yes, and we're going to talk about the whole buying a house, finding a realtor.
What that look like.
Financing, because you got to have the money to buy the house. And yeah, I'm Black and I'm proud, and I just want to say that that comes into play. So we're going to talk about that.
All right now.
All right, so
sip your champagne, Gladira.
Yes, I need some. It's Sunday. Melissa,
tell us about yourself, girl.
Tell me a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to dive into this real estate stuff. All right.
Sounds good. My name is Melissa Shames. I've lived in Ithaca for over 25 years. I was a single parent with 2 children, doing a regular
Shout
9
out
to 5.
Single parents.
So I was doing a regular 9 to 5 for almost 15 years. Then my job got eliminated and I had to create myself again. So everybody was like, what do you want to do with your life? I was like, I don't know. So I started doing interviews, and it was like starting my career at the bottom of the ladder all over again. I was like, this is not going to work for me. So
break the chains, girl.
Yeah, you got it. So I had done some property management prior to going into real estate. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll be a property manager. And then a friend of mine said, well, do you want to manage your property or somebody else's? I was like, well, mine, but I can't afford a property. And they were like, well, you don't need money. I was like, please tell me more. So that's how I actually got into real estate, was starting with buying my first investment properties is what I did before I got into real estate. that led me
Yes,
into my real estate career.
That's awesome, Melissa.
Thank you.
investment. When I hear investment, I'm like, you doing it, all right? And we need to hear about that. Like, yes, from getting starting out to then, yes, putting in money that comes back to you. We're gonna
Indeed.
talk about that. But let's,
Indeed.
Matthew, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we're gonna talk houses and
Come on, Matthew. We got this.
closings and realtor wars. Is there such a thing? We're gonna talk about that.
Bidding wars.
We're
We
gonna,
call
ooh,
those
bidding
bidding
wars.
wars,
Okay, we're gonna
yes.
talk about that. What's up, Matthew? What's up?
My name is Matthew Richardson, and I work at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services in Ithaca, New York. And I got into real estate because
You love money?
Yo,
You want some money?
he wanted that flexibility, and he trying to be a
Boss
what's
king.
what's the boss dude boss
King.
boss king. You were trying to be a boss king. You wanted in on that world. Tell us, Matthew.
Let's go.
I got into real estate because I like the idea of being self-employed, being an independent contractor,
Break
and
the
making my
chains.
own money on my own hours, being able to choose my own clients, and have the free time and flexibility to live the rest of my life.
Yes, that's what it's about. Living the life. That's what we're trying to do. And you know what? The first thing people say about the American dream, what's the first thing on the list?
Home ownership.
Home ownership.
Yes.
I want a piece of that land, right? So we're going to get there. We're going to get there, and we're going to talk to our audience, right? Who feel like, wait, how do I get there? And what's the first steps? You know?
And what's the resources, right? Because sometimes people don't have those resources to get that first step going. Like, where do I go? Who do I go talk to?
Yeah,
And-
what's the first thing you do when you're thinking like, I'm tired of paying rent to someone else and not really seeing it.
I want my own. I want to own my own.
Yeah, I want my
Yeah.
own. Where do you start?
So, generally speaking, what tends to happen is people start to go on websites like Zillow and realtor.com because they're dreaming of home ownership. After they start that process, then they tend to reach out to a realtor to find out about a house. And when that conversation begins, as realtors, our job is to guide them through the process of home ownership. And when I do that, when I'm talking to a client, I will refer them to different local lenders in the market in which I live that I know will do a good job educating them on the different loan programs that are available to them based on their financial situations.
Yeah, so you don't necessarily need 20%.
Absolutely
To buy
not.
a house.
Absolutely not. There are all different types of loan programs available to home buyers.
Y'all hear
Some
that?
of them can be 0% down. Some of them can be 3%, 5%, 10%. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't get a conventional loan with less than 20% down. So the whole goal at the very beginning of the home buying process is to help educate the buyers on the different banks and what they have to offer you to help you get to the first step of home ownership.
Y'all need to get with
Yeah.
Melissa because she know the deal. She knows.
Can we also talk a little bit about Zillow and realtor.com? Because
Yes.
millions of people use that site, and it's kind of addicting in the same way Facebook and other social media sites are pretty addicting.
Heck
Just constant
yeah,
scrolling.
I check those all the time.
Yeah, and they
Not
have
anymore.
the Zestimate of their evaluation of what the home is worth and all that. But I think we should also get into how Zillow works as a prospective home buyer, because I think this is going to be related to choosing an agent. Because when you go through Zillow, which means clicking the find an agent button or contact an agent, that blue button that they have, it's seemingly random who you're getting
Right.
or who's contacting you within the next few minutes. And
Oh, I did that once before, and I got this random call, and I was like, it made me really nervous. So I'm glad you're bringing that up.
yeah, so it's seemingly random. It's not random on Zillow's end, but you don't know necessarily who you're getting as a buyer. And I just want people to be aware that just because you go through Zillow or realtor.com doesn't mean that has to be the agent that you have to go with. There's a lot of great agents that come through Zillow and realtor.com, but it doesn't have to be. I would also consider shopping around if you don't feel totally comfortable with who is working with you.
Oh, I was gonna ask that. Like, can you shop around? And what's the etiquette behind that? Is there etiquette rules behind shopping around?
There definitely is. But one of the things I want to go back and say a little bit about Zillow is the main objective of Zillow is a place for people to go and see the inventory in the market in which they live. That is the main objective of Zillow. Zillow tries to do other things. It tries to provide other services to potential buyers and sellers. But Zillow is an algorithm. I mean, all they're really doing is providing inventory. They're not good for much else. Besides the fact that they also do provide an access to agents within the market in which you're looking. There are agents that buy advertising on Zillow for the opportunity to represent buyers that don't have representation. That's our goal. Our goal is to provide representation for buyers that don't have an agent. So when that call comes in from Zillow to an agent, that agent's job is to find out what that buyer is looking for and how they can help that buyer. It's the buyer's job to have a discussion with that agent and see if it felt like it was a good conversation. Did that agent provide a lot of useful information and they want to continue that conversation? If that initial conversation wasn't that great and that buyer was like, oh, that person was okay, then that buyer should continue to look in the market for other agents that may be available to guide them through the process.
So the scrolling on Zillow is just, it doesn't stop there. You have to keep,
you got it. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. The other thing is once you come into communication with a buyer, the next step, and I myself as a buyer's agent, one of the things that I say to people when I first begin the conversation is, if you want to find out more about who I am as a real estate agent, go on Zillow and look at my reviews. I have lots of
there's
people
reviews
there
on
are
Zillow?
reviews.
No.
Yes, for all
I
of
did
the
not know
agents.
that.
Yes. So that's one way to be able to look at that agent from somebody else's viewpoint and their experiences on how it went for them.
What, Melissa? Wait.
She
now
dropping
I am,
gems over here.
B. I be checking those Amazon reviews to buy anything. I
You're
just
a
like
review
read.
queen.
Yes.
You like to read your reviews.
But why did I not know there were reviews on Zillow? Like I would have been stuck looking at those. Like, nope, not messing with them.
Yes,
Oh,
that's why I'm wondering why I never
like-
got a call from you.
Yes, Melissa.
Like,
Melissa,
dun,
you
dun,
know what though,
dun.
Melissa? Once I'm started, like we're gonna talk investment. All right. Now, how do you deal with so are there people that buy homes without a realtor? Those people that are like, I don't want to deal with anyone. I just want to buy a home.
They just have the money and they
Yes.
just buy
Is
it.
that possible? And what's the pros and cons?
Okay, well, there are
of
lots
those?
of pros and cons, but
Okay.
it is really challenging to buy a house within the market without an agent because the majority of houses on the market are with an agent. So if they're listed with an agent, you need to have an agent, generally speaking, to buy them. You can still buy without an agent, but it really is advised to have an agent, somebody that lives and understands the community, the housing stock. There's a lot of information that we as realtors bring to the table in addition to showing and unlocking doors.
Okay.
It also doesn't cost you anything out of pocket to use a buyer's agent. It's not the same case in all states, but the commission is paid out by the listing agent. I mean, I guess technically it is paid for by the buyer's agent, but it's not, you're paying a buyer's commission fee to the agent directly, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay. Now explain to me buyer's agent versus what?
Listing agent. So the listing
Versus
agent
listing
is the
agent.
person that has put the house on the market. The person that has put the house on the market is the listing agent, and they represent the sellers and the seller's interest. Okay? A buyer's agent represents the interest of the person buying the home. We negotiate on your behalf. Our job is to fight for what you need. The listing agent's job is to fight for the interest of the seller. So there are also people that want to buy the house directly through the listing agent, not understanding the difference between the two roles.
Oh, that's very interesting because early on in my process, when I started looking at houses, I would call the listing agent. And then I had a couple times where the listing agent said, well, I'm the listing agent, but I'm going to refer you to another agent to show you the home. And I had very interesting experiences with going with an agent who was referred by the listing agent.
Right.
In
Understandable.
terms of like the comments that they made when I'm looking at the house. And then wondering, okay, are they really
Looking out for you.
looking out for me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's a
Yep.
really good point. Yes.
I hope y'all taking notes out there, because listing agent and buying agent.
Listing agent, buying
is-
agent. And
there's
check
some-
those reviews, y'all.
Yeah, the other thing there is, you can also be a dual agent, okay? So besides being a listing agent and a buyer's agent, you could also be a dual agent on occasion. A dual agent would mean I listed a home, but I have a buyer that wants to buy the home I have listed. Okay, and in that case, you become a dual agent. Some people don't feel comfortable being a dual agent, and other people, depending upon the person listing the home and the person that wants to buy the home, may feel okay about it. I have had situations where I have been a dual agent. I know the sellers really well. They completely trust me and my integrity, and I have a buyer that feels the same way about me and the time that we've invested together already, that they don't have a problem with me being a dual agent. But a dual agent means that I no longer am specifically working for one person's interest or the other. Now I'm more just transactional. Now I'm just putting an offer together. They're telling me we want to offer this, and I'm presenting that. I'm not bidding the price, I'm not trying to get the price down or anything else. I'm just the person in between trying to make the deal come together.
So
Now,
the
do you
middle,
make more
you're like
money?
the middleman.
My fault, B.
No, you're fine.
No, yes, you
Yeah.
do make more money as a dual agent because you're getting both sides of the commission in that particular
okay.
scenario. But, for me, it's really not about the money. It's about the people. My job is about the people, to represent the people and their interest and their journey of home buying.
Regarding your question about buying without a buyer's agent, is far more common, and something that it's probably just a good idea to have someone representing you as a buyer. It's far more likely that the seller won't have a listing agent, and that's because they want to save money on whatever is associated with the sale, including the commission. And you also had a question about etiquette about shopping for agents.
Yes.
For the most part, you should just be polite, and you don't have to give them a phone call even.
Now, this makes me think about something. Do some realtors have you sign like a contract? Is there a contract?
There is an agreement that can be signed, correct, Matthew?
Yeah, there's a buyer's agency disclosure, but that doesn't tie you into a relationship of using that realtor.
Oh, okay. That's good to know, because I think that the understanding I had was if you sign that, then you're
Kinda locked into that person.
Yeah, and that you owe the realtor a certain percentage or something like that.
Absolutely not.
Okay, I got that wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are buyer agency agreements that can be signed that say, you've been working with this agent and you went and saw a property with that agent, and then you try to get rid of that agent and get another agent. That agent could try to claim that they're owed a commission because you signed an agreement with them. The reality is, if you start working with an agent, you don't feel like the relationship is right for you. It really is your responsibility and the ethical thing to do to tell that agent that you're working with the relationship is no longer working with you for you. Okay, you are more than welcome to work with any agent that you want to work with. But it really is in the best interest of both agents that you're honest with the agent you were working with about the desire to no longer work with them. And then your door is open to work with anybody you choose. The process of buying a home, there are a lot of ups and downs and a lot of stressors. It's really important that you are working along somebody you feel comfortable with and that provides you with the security and assurances that you need to get through the process as smoothly as possible.
Is there a confidentiality disclosure when it comes to, once you start working with a realtor, right? And what I found out was the realtor will get sent your financing options, or what type of financing you're going to use, right? Whether it's FHA, conventional. And now, is there some type of confidentiality in terms of the realtor sharing with another realtor, or saying, okay, I don't want to deal with this person based on the type of loan they're gonna use. Am I asking this question right? Can a realtor say, I don't want to deal with this person based on, they're
Whatever
going
their
with an
financial-
FHA. Is
Well,
there FHA shaming?
Well, I wouldn't
Is
say
that a
there's
thing?
FHA shaming, but it certainly is viewed differently than a conventional loan.
Okay.
Okay, so there are several different types of loan: FHA loan, a VA loan, a conventional loan. All of these things are talked about in the real estate industry. FHA loan, their requirements are a bit stricter than a conventional loan. So even though you'd like to say there isn't any shaming, the reality is they are viewed differently.
And it's because the seller's interests are going to favor cash, conventional, and then anything else, FHA, VA, USDA loans that are going to have more restrictions on until closing. But your question about, what was your question?
About the, let me see, what was I
Oh,
asking?
yeah, the
Disclosure.
fiduciary duty.
Yeah. So I guess I could.
Fiduciary. Yes, I like
Fiduciary.
that word.
So are you asking from like a buyer to buyer's agent?
Yeah,
standpoint?
yeah, the confidential. Yeah, so yes, buyer to buyer.
Like you don't want the buyer's agent to know, or you're saying that the buyer's agent is biasing working with you because of whatever
loan you're using.
That does happen. I mean, that's just
Yeah,
that happens.
yeah. And so if you're, let's say, an agent is like, hey, I don't want to deal with them, but I'm gonna give them to someone else. Are they then, saying, okay, this person's using an FHA loan or whatever? Is there something with confidentiality in that, in terms of like, because that can create bias, in the beginning of a relationship with a realtor.
They probably won't go to another agent and say, hey, here's an FHA loan. Here you go. Just go.
Okay.
But I mean, if they're getting rid of you, that other buyer, they're getting rid of you because I guess they don't necessarily want to afford the time to work with you, because it might take longer, especially in this market, to purchase a home with an FHA loan. But that other buyer's agent is going to be more open to working with people with any loan, because they're usually newer agents that they're referring those types of loans to. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but at the end of the day, yeah, they're for agents that are very successful and busy, and they have cash buyers, they've got $1 million listings and whatever else. An FHA loan is going to seem like a waste of time on their end. It's not good, but it does happen.
That's a good point.
I wouldn't say necessarily a waste of time. It's more time consuming, I think, is the challenge. And we live in a really competitive market. Ithaca is a very competitive market. We have not nearly enough inventory for the amount of people that want to live here. And so therefore, people hear all the time about bidding wars in Ithaca. Well, when you're in a situation where you're up against other people that want to purchase a home, and there's 5 offers to look at, and as Matthew was saying, you've got a cash offer, you've got a conventional offer, you've got an FHA. What the seller is looking at is which offer is going to get to closing with the least resistance. Cash. Cash is king. We all know that, right?
Right.
So usually conventional is the next best thing. It has less restrictions on it from an appraisal standpoint, from the type of mortgage that you get. All of those things factor in the process when buying.
And then even within types of loans, there's even tiers within types of down payments. 25% for like investors or whatever. Then conventional loan for second-time home buyers, or they just sold their home out of state or whatever, which is like the standard. And then anything below that is going to be typically, all else being equal, is going to be less competitive. And then you also have FHA, and the tiers drop down the same as a conventional loan.
Would you say, Matthew, as you're starting, this is your second year, what are the types of clientele you've had, or the in terms of ranges of those looking to buy, because you're less
you're earlier on in your career with it, so yeah.
Thank you. Early on in your career, would you say you have now under your belt a lot of experience with dealing with those different types of loans?
I've worked with a lot of my first buyers were people that were kind of not as competitive in the Ithaca market, whether it's a conventional loan or FHA loan. So that is good because you learn a lot from how to present those types of offers. And dealing with the home inspections. Things will come up in the home inspection that FHA will want done, or the appraisal will want done. And I've worked with cash buyers, but it was also land, which is usually cash anyways. The only thing that I don't have a lot of experience in is listings, which is typical for a newer agent starting out. But I've worked with a decent range of buyers.
And listings, you're saying in terms of like you being the listing agent.
Yeah, listing agent. I'm helping someone sell. I've got the sign with my name on it and all that. I've only had one of those, but that takes experience and a lot of prospecting and.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So is that what you would say as realtors? You all are working towards having more properties that you are the listing agent?
That is correct. That is
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
That means, when you get to a point in your career where you're doing more listings than you are working with buyers, that means you've reached a certain threshold in your career where people are like, wow, you've been in the business so long. We feel like you have a lot of experience at this point, and now we're willing to basically entrust you. A lot of the people that you end up listing for are people you've sold to over the years. Those are your first clients that you get the opportunity to start listing. The more houses you list, the more people that see your name and see your sign, and they think, oh, I'm going to call that person. I've seen their name. And that's how that process begins. When you're the listing agent, you're just putting a sign in the ground and people are calling you. It's a very different process than being a buyer's agent where somebody calls you and you go show 15 houses and then you get a deal.
The other benefit of being primarily a listing agent is that you can work with more clients. You can work with more listings, because if you're working with, you can only work with so many buyers throughout the course of a week at the peak of the market. Like, you're doing showings every day, and that just it's a lot of energy. It's a lot of driving. It's a lot of staying up late. Whereas listings, you
reached your peak. Listings. That's where you want to
work
be.
with so many buyer clients and represent them well.
Now, okay, wait. You all are going into different homes to show your clients' homes. What's a nightmare story for y'all? Because there could be some scary situations when you're showing homes. What's something like, nightmare situation where it's like, oh man, that was scary or that was really nasty?
Well, I was actually in a house the other day, and I reached out to the agent to ask him what the name of the river was that was running through the basement.
What?
A river? Oh, Lord. Did they have catfish in that river?
No, there were no catfish. It was a drainage issue, I believe, but nonetheless, it seemed like a river.
I'm scared.
Yeah, earlier in the podcast, you said that the fun part, I think she said this.
Yes.
The funnest part, the easiest part of buying a home is seeing the property. But there's also a bunch of properties that are just run down or just chock full of tenants, and it stinks, and it's not really well maintained.
Yeah, because some of these houses be looking crazy.
Well, you know what? Honestly, this is kind of the problem with things like Zillow, is you get on there and you start looking at these houses and you're like, wow, that looks amazing.
Yeah, that was me.
And then you get there and you're like, is this the same house? This does not look like the same house. Because the job of the listing agent is to get you to the house. So it doesn't really matter how the house looks. We need to make it look the best we can to get you there.
Right.
And then you get to decide, are you interested once you get there?
Now, is the market still popping the way it was? What's the situation right now with the market?
The market is hot.
It's hot.
Hot.
Okay, sizzling.
It's not as hot as 2021, but it's still pretty competitive, yeah.
And the main reason
That's
for that
good
is
for
inventory.
Me. I just bought a house, so
exactly.
I
It
needed
would be
to
good
keep
for you.
popping.
That's right.
I need to work on that value. Now, okay, so starter home versus forever home. Tell us about that. What's the approach? Are there different approaches?
There are definitely different approaches because when you're buying your starter home, let's just say you have 5 things on the list you want. Well, you might get 2. That's the reality. You have to
I got a
compromise on
one-car
your starter
garage.
home.
On those starter homes.
On the
huh?
starter home, it's all about compromise and figuring out what areas that you're willing to compromise. Is it location? Is it condition? Those are all the things that are going to be really important when you're buying your first home. Is it will not be your dream home.
I tore out the stinky carpet. I was like, look, I need to have a vision. All right, we're gonna get there.
As your starter home, you need to establish wants versus needs, and then tailor that to how the market responds to how you set your offers and how competitive you are in these offer review situations. Sometimes you'll go in thinking, okay, we want 4 bedrooms, 2 full baths, and we want a full basement. But that's a certain price point when you add that full basement. And sometimes you're going to have to make compromises and to get a home in a competitive market.
So you might get a 2-bedroom and a half
If I
bathroom.
get one less bathroom,
You're not gonna
one
get-
less
That's
bedroom,
All right now.
sacrifice a few hundred square feet, maybe be outside of the area. I mean, I've had buyers start out in Ithaca and end up in Elmira. And, I don't necessarily tell them that they're not competitive. They know. I mean, people aren't stupid. When I tell them, oh, you came in 7th in the offer review situation, it's kind of it's back to the drawing board. You either got to wait a couple more years or a year to save up the capital to buy in the market, or to buy in a different market.
Right. I think the median home sale price in Ithaca right now is about $325,000.
Woo!
So it is actually quite high.
Yeah.
I
did all
so
right
there's
then.
for a lot of people that is like middle income.
Yeah.
That's middle income is $325,000.
Wow.
So-
And then, you're talking 325,000 on a home that still needs
That still needs work.
work.
You got it.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's money.
That is money.
Yeah.
So you're putting more money into a home that, well, it costs this amount, but you're putting more into it.
Indeed, but generally speaking,
Right.
when you're in that $325,000 range, you're looking at more cosmetic things than you are structural things. So, it might need paint, it might need new carpet, things like that. It might have a 15-year-old roof versus a 25-year-old roof. Okay, so those are the kinds of things that you're going to see in that price range. In Ithaca, it's really hard to find a house under $250,000 that is in good condition.
Yeah, that you can live in.
That you can
without
live in
the
without doing
roof
work.
or maybe breathing in something
Oh, man.
not good, right?
Well, those are all things kind of what buyers should know. Besides just going to the bank and getting a pre-qual letter, chances are you're going to have to put thousands into the house within the next couple of years, or some. You're going to need to do some sort of maybe they're not necessary, but you're going to want to if you want to be in the price point that you want to be.
Now, you
For a
said
starter home.
something pre-qual letter.
Pre-qual letter.
Tell us about that. What is that for our audience out there?
A pre-qual letter is an assessment of your financial situation and how well you can afford a home in this market, or
So
in the market that you're in.
Right. So the bank is looking at your debt to income ratio. Okay. That's what they want to know. How much money are you bringing in and how much of your money is going out and how much is left over? So that's how they help determine what you can afford to buy. The other thing they're going to be looking at, obviously, is your credit score. Your credit score is so important. And your credit score is based on any kind of credit you have and making sure that you pay your bills on time, because all of those things go back to how well your credit score is. What your interest rate is going to be on a loan is dependent on your credit score. The better your credit score, the better your interest rate.
Now, what if you have student loans that Biden didn't approve yet?
Because
Because I'm like, listen, I need my student
I
loans.
know.
It's on
that
hold.
I'm on
It
that
affects your
list
credit,
too.
right?
That
They
does.
calculate that, right, on the
They
debt
do.
to income
Yes, they do.
ratio. Yeah.
All right,
What
'cause
they're
I
taking
need-
into consideration is, what's best is if you have student loan, do you have a payment plan set up with the student loan company? Because what they're going to take into account is not the full value, but the monthly amount that you're paying on that student loan. So, it also makes it really important when you're talking about your debt, that your debt is something that you're dealing with, that you are talking to the people, that you are setting up a loan payment, because that's how they're going to calculate that money when they're looking at your debt to income ratio.
So people, don't be paying those minimum payments, all right? We need you to keep that balance below, I think it's a 30%. So if you're keeping it at the 15%, 19%, or just pay it off if you can, no eating out. We got to set goals, y'all.
Indeed.
And budget, I guess, because budget is like.
And budget.
I'm learning that. Owning a home, I have to budget.
You have to budget.
Like if I'm
Indeed.
not, I'm like,
you have to budget for the
girl, I
unexpected.
can't go out tonight. I got to stay home because
Yeah, because
my
anything
life
can
is set up
happen.
different now.
Right? No, I've definitely been feeling that as I've been chipping away at different projects. Saving up. And there's another thing you were talking about, Matthew. So you said the prequal letter, but then there's also, so as our audience is thinking about buying a home and laying out what they need to be ready, is it, I'm thinking, okay, what are some things, like if they had to lay out a list and they had to do it in order, one,
Like a
2,
checklist.
3, yeah, a checklist. What would you say, okay, you got to do this first and do this second, do this third to get in the path of being able to buy a home? Are there 3 things you would recommend?
3 things recommended after you get the prequal letter, or just in general? Like, would it one of those things?
So before, so like,
okay.
yeah, so the prequal was good. The prequal letter was good. So that means that you have, so the person has met with a bank mortgage lender.
Yeah, whether they've met with them, whether they've talked over the phone with them and submitted the information necessary to help them get an idea of what they're qualified to buy.
Okay, so how much they can afford
Correct.
to buy.
You got it.
Okay. So if it's like, okay, we've qualified you for 180 and you're looking in Ithaca, I don't know. Let's we
might need to rethink our strategy.
We need to rethink.
Indeed.
Yes. Yeah.
Indeed.
Are there condos that price in it? No.
Actually, there are. There
There
are
are?
condos. Like
Okay.
Penny Lane off of Slaterville Road. There's condos that are under 200,000. But obviously, the thing that you need to think about with a condo is that there's an HOA fee.
Okay.
Okay,
What's
so
the range of that HOA?
HOA
fee?
fees are like anywhere from probably 225,000 to 300 and what do you mean? I said $225
Dollars.
a
Okay,
month
okay.
to like $385 a month.
What's a HOA? Like
It's a
fee?
homeowners association. Okay, so the condos have what they call a homeowners association, and the homeowners associations are responsible for different things. A lot of times, what they're responsible for is the exterior maintenance of the buildings. So the luxury of buying a townhouse or a condo is that you're not responsible for some of the major items that you would be responsible for if you were owning a home.
So like
The roof.
snow plowing.
Right, snow plowing,
Garbage.
mowing the lawn, the roof, the exterior, so the siding, whatever the siding is. Usually those things are covered under the homeowners association. So
to
you're
know.
paying money in monthly towards the annual repairs that the homeowner association needs to do.
Oh, okay. Now, would you say that that's a good avenue to buying a home? If someone says, all right, I'm tired of renting.
Yeah, what are the benefits of owning
Yeah.
and renting?
Could they say, okay, but I can't afford to buy $300,000
house.
home. Yes. But I want to buy a condo.
Right.
Should they go that path, or should they wait a little bit? What's the
I feel like it's
rent
more
or
about
to
lifestyle.
buy? Okay.
It's more about
Okay.
lifestyle, okay? First of all, if you can buy versus rent, you should always buy because you're building your own equity, right?
Building your own equity, y'all.
Yes, building
What's
your own
equity?
Equity is what every time you make a payment towards your mortgage, you're increasing the value you own in that house. So
Praise
if
the
I
Lord.
have a $200,000
Amen.
home and I make a $1,500 payment, every time I'm making that payment, some amount of that payment is going towards the principal, which is increasing the value that I own in that home.
That you own.
Meaning
Yes,
you're increasing your
American
net
dream.
worth.
Not that person
right.
own.
Net
You own it.
worth.
That's
net
right.
worth. Yes. And that right there, yes. Tell us about net worth. Because eventually I'm gonna get into this investing. Yes.
Net worth is just the difference between how much you owe and how much you own. So, I mean, when you're paying down the mortgage, little by little, how much you own is increasing. So, I guess you're increasing your net worth. It takes a long time, but that's what you're doing.
Okay.
Well, the other thing I want to get back to for a minute is the lifestyle thing. So, condo versus a house, it's all about lifestyle. If you are somebody that doesn't have time for mowing your yard and plowing, then a condo is a great thing to buy. If you're young and you don't want to have to worry about a roof or siding or other structural issues that are beyond your budgetary constraints or whatever they are, then that's a good option. You're still owning something and you're still building equity regardless of whether it's a condo or a house.
Do you have people that so switching a little bit to investing, do you have people that rent and then have an investment property? I mean, that's kind
Honestly,
of backwards.
I have heard of that before. I don't think it makes a lot of sense why I would be giving my money away to somebody else's mortgage and then renting, owning something else. I believe, for me, the best use of your own money is to pay down your own equity. So if you're in a position to buy and pay down yours. But the next best thing is to buy a duplex where you own the house and one person is renting one side while you're living in the other. That way somebody could be paying your taxes while you're paying the mortgage payment. So now your money is going twice as far.
You smart, Melissa.
Yes,
You
now
smart
that's a good
girl.
point. Duplexes. Does that require a different type of loan? Tell us about that.
Yes,
Shed
but it also depends on if you're occupying it or using it solely as a rental property.
Okay, y'all hear that, right? Out there. Listen, pay attention.
And it also depends on whether you're a first-time home buyer or not. So typically, when you're buying a duplex, you're going to need 20 to 25% down. If you're a first-time home buyer, there are programs where you can get it for less. Last year, when I bought my duplex,
Matthew, you got a duplex.
I have a duplex.
Okay.
Right now, Matthew.
They used to have a program where you can have a 3.5% down payment and buy a duplex, which is what I wanted because I wanted to put more money into the house, and I wasn't too concerned at the time of having the property cash flow, which means to profit off of the rental income for that property. But typically, and there are also other ways of financing that you can get creative with. Typically, you're going to need a higher down payment because there's more risk.
Okay.
So 20%, I had to do 20%. If you're not a first-time home buyer and if you're using it as solely as a rental property, you're going to need 25%.
25. Okay.
That's the general rule. You might put down more if you wanted to help it cash flow a little bit better. But yeah, there are there are more restrictions on multifamily properties. And they get more restrictive the more units there are. So what I just said applies to 2 units up to 4 units. Once you get past that, you're going to need a different type of loan that I've never worked with, a commercial loan.
That's when you get in big time.
Yeah. I don't know a lot about commercial loans, but...
As a new person in the field, what are some surprising things that you've come across?
Well, I guess a challenging thing for me, having come out of college and not worked a professional job where you're representing clients, one thing that has been difficult is dealing with a bunch of different personalities. And I think in real estate, it is important to understand certain personalities because it lets you know how you should respond to certain agents, which in turn can help your client in a way. So one thing that has been surprising me is the different personalities in real estate, personalities between the other professionals involved in buying a home. And that's from the agents to the lenders, attorneys, and everyone's different, and everyone can have their own, egos and personalities, but you have to learn how to kind of maneuver that and not take things personally for the benefit of your client.
Oh, that's really good. The level of professionalism. Now, Melissa, how about on your end as being in this for years? What are some surprising things that have happened, continue to happen, possibly?
Good question. Actually, something that still surprises me that, no matter how long you've been in this business, it's still a job consistently to maintain positive relationships with all the people you have to interact with throughout the process of buying or selling a home.
Oh, yes. I know when it came down to closing on my house, I didn't realize, wait, there's a bank's attorney, there's my attorney, there's the seller's attorney, and then why are they taking so long to sign the paperwork? And now we just changed my closing date, which could possibly change my rate.
It's okay,
And
Glitter.
then
Calm
I gotta
down,
pay.
girl. It's
No,
all right.
I'm
Don't get
gonna
all-
rant because I've been
Release.
holding it back,
Release,
girl. And then
and let it
and
go.
then I gotta pay more to hold my rate.
Well, one of the things you
Nah.
have to understand is that date on the contract is called a target date, not a guaranteed closing date.
Thank you, Melissa, but I should have been told that because
I agree.
I'm like, listen, I had to already extend my lease, and now my landlord's like, I already
You gotta
got
get
somebody
out.
coming in. You got to get out.
Disrespectful.
Get out. Yeah. So all right. So one thing that surprised me is my pronunciation. My English is not very good looking, says Celia Cruz. So, I've always said realtor. And that is not the correct way to say that, I was told.
Tomato,
And so-
tomato.
yeah, now I'm
Potato,
a little,
potato.
yeah, now I'm a little self-conscious. And could that play a part in building a relationship with a realtor? If I say it in Spanish, I'm good.
I agree. But honestly,
Is
I
it
don't
realtor?
have that many people that even call me a realtor. I just say I'm a real estate agent. Makes it real simple.
Real estate agent. B. I should have said that from the beginning. My real estate agent.
Girl,
and
I ain't
then
judging
it
you.
would have solved the whole problem.
I'm not judging you,
Thank
girl.
you. That's why you my friend.
I ain't judging
B.
nobody. Realtor, real estate, pastor. What good is it? I can't say.
Oh my God.
Realtors it's a weird word.
Spanish. No, I didn't.
Realtor.
It's a weird word. Nobody, if you say realtor, I don't think anyone cares.
So a realtor is not going to turn you away for saying realtor.
Nope. Other agents
They're
say
going to say,
realtor.
what you talking about? And where's your
Attorneys
pre-cal?
say realtor.
Where's your 20%?
What you can afford? Oh, you know what? You can call me whatever you want. Oh my God, Melissa, Matthew,
Thank
it
you,
has
guys.
been so awesome having you on here. Are there any final things that you would like to say to our audience, to those newbies out there that are thinking about buying a home? What should they know?
What are some tips you got for us?
My tip, it should be common sense, but not everybody knows this. I didn't know some of this stuff. And that is to get your finances in order. Whether you're in high school, college, 30 years old, 40 years old, your credit score, your debt, it matters. And it matters when buying a car. It matters a lot when buying a home. And there are a lot of people in my generation that, will take a look at their rent and go on Zillow and do the mortgage calculation and say, well, I can afford a home. That's not how it works.
Oh, I did that.
It's
I
not.
could pay this.
I mean, it helps. Paying off your rent definitely helps, and it can increase your credit score as well. But it's not as simple as looking at your rent, how much you pay for rent, and comparing that to what a mortgage would be.
So work on your finances, guys. Work on it.
Yes.
I think that's a great tip. In terms of tips that I would recommend if you're beginning the process of buying a home is to start with interviewing the agent that you first come into contact with to make sure that that relationship seems like it's a good relationship for you. Find out how they communicate, what kind of communication you can expect from them at the very beginning, and do your due diligence of reading their reviews or reaching out and asking other people if they've had an experience with that agent and what it was like.
I have one more tip. another thing that is common sense, but most of us don't do, and that is to read the contracts, read the paperwork that you're presented to sign. For example, the buyer's agency agreement that was brought up. There are contracts where that you're kind of tied into working with a certain agent. That's not really as common in the Ithaca market. And to drive home the point that you should be reading the paperwork that you're presented.
Read everything before you sign. And if you don't understand something, you need to ask. All right?
Well, not only that, you do also have an attorney. So you do have a second set of eyes to help you understand the paperwork that you've been given. We present you the paperwork when it comes to the contractual part of the contract, besides the agency. And then when you put something under contract, you hire an attorney. And we make recommendations on attorneys that are local that have done a good job on behalf of other buyers and sellers that we've worked with.
So you are not alone in this process.
Yes.
Now tell us, how can people get a hold of you?
You can reach me in any format you work with, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, my phone number, which is 607-227-5323, and it's by my side 24/7.
All right, now I'm going to write that down.
My number is 607-882-1982, and my email is matthew@sellsyourproperty.com.
All this
All right.
information is in the show notes.
Sorry if it
Hey,
was
listen,
too,
I just want to make
formal.
sure, I want to make this really clear. If you guys need anything, like with your homes, if you need a plumber, if you need a roofer, those are the other things that we as agents provide. My goal is always to be a resource for life.
Oh, that's
right?
awesome.
So it's not
yes.
just about selling you the home, but it's about being there continuously after you buy the home to help you make sure you don't get ripped off by, give the money to the wrong person. We have experience because we've been in this community of who to stay away from or who to go with. So that's another thing that we try to provide.
Oh, that's awesome, because that's one of the things, like electrician or,
Exactly.
yes, that is great to know.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. This was an awesome episode.
Yes,
I am so
fun.
happy to be in this home buyer journey. Through all the stresses, I really have learned a lot about, realtor, closing information, contracts, buying prices, asking prices,
Listing
all
agents,
of it.
buying agents, a lot.
Yes. We also forgot to mention that Matthew is Dr. Jada's son. If you tune in to our previous episode,
Episode 2.
Dr. Jada was on there talking about winter blues. And if you didn't listen to it, go back and check episodes 2. Dr. Jada gave some great tips on beating the winter blues.
Hey, Dr. Jada.
Shout out to Dr. Jada.
Hi, Mom. No.
That's so cute. That is so cute. I love it. Yeah,
Thank you for the champagne.
Champagne, yes.
You're welcome.
That's all right.
That's a wrap. Thank you all for listening all the way through. And again, reminder, check our show notes. If you want to contact Matthew, if you want to contact Melissa, if you want to get started in that home buying process. We are your co-hosts, Gladira and
Bianca.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
Speak Your Mind, Sis is recorded in Ithaca, New York, and is produced and edited by DJ Hameen. Theme music was composed by JD Beatz. Wherever you listen to your podcasts, please remember to subscribe. Our contact information and social media links are in the show notes. Please reach out and connect with us. Peace.